We can all engage in enterprise. We can all participate in the disciplines that bring wealth of lifestyle and treasure. All of us and our children can build the most powerful and attractive society ever. You can always go back to the old way, but if you just try it, I predict you will be so excited about your new commitment and discipline for wealth that you will never turn back. What we're seeing here is that wealth is a matter of allocation, not opportunity, especially in this country. There are subtleties on both sides of any issue of health and sickness, the issues of success and failure. It is the subtleties that determine the direction and the destination. The major reason it is so subtle is because what you do in a single day or a single week or month doesn't seem to matter that much. But remember, as we said earlier, everything matters. Everything weighs something. Sophisticated people never say, it doesn't matter. If you spend or invest $5 today, it doesn't seem to matter much either way. You seem to be no richer or poorer at the end of the day. But it does make all the difference in the world as you save $5 every day, and the days accumulate into weeks and into months and into years. You see, it's the accumulated total of the allocation of each day that makes all the difference in the world, whether you become rich or poor, healthy or ill, successful or mediocre. Now back to Johnny. He is going to ask about his investment account, where he's putting 10 cents out of every dollar. What kind of interest do they pay kids? So you give him the blockbuster, same as adult. That will be almost unbelievable. At last, he can be treated like an adult, getting that adult interest when you're only a kid. And one added note, just by working this part of the financial independence plan alone, by putting aside less than $200 a month, will make you a millionaire in 30 years. Remember, it's called the subtlety of wealth or poverty. What you do in one day doesn't seem to matter, but as all sophisticated kids and adults know, it is the accumulated days of proper allocation of your money that makes you wealthy. It is using the ideas we're discussing, coupled with the passing of a little time, that creates fortunes. Now, the passing of time is automatic, but using the ideas is a matter of your own discipline. Whether you want to or not, or whether you care or not, bottom line, it's all up to you. Let me give you the definition of rich and poor. It is brief, but I'm sure you will get the message. Here it is. Poor people spend their money and save what's left. And you guessed it already. Rich people save their money and spend what's left. Remember, it's the same money, just a different philosophy. If 20 years ago, two people each earned $1,000 a month, and they each had an average increase in income over the last 20 years, one had the philosophy, spend your money, save what's left, and the other had the philosophy, save your money and spend what's left. Today, 20 years later, we call one poor and the other rich. The difference was in philosophy. But I can't stress too much the subtlety of it all. At the end of a day or a week or a month, it doesn't seem to matter. A rich plan or a poor plan to an unsophisticated person. But to make wise decisions, we must all weigh a larger measure of the result. We don't just weigh a week. We weigh 5 years of week, 10 years of week, and let the weight of that measure determine the change in our weekly activity and commitment.
I remember seeing Zig on stage. If you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. I remember Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, change your thinking and you will change your life. I remember Jim Rohn, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. I remember Earl Nightingale, all of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. I remember listening to those recordings over and over and over and over again to change my mental blueprint. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City with a twin brother, and in an abandoned building on a floor. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were adopted by Mrs. Mamie Brown. Whenever I speak, I always say, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. So I signed once and said, God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. Mama was a domestic worker. She worked on Miami Beach. She made up beds and cleaned homes. She cooked for families, weighed the food left over from the families that she cooked for. My mother could bake too. Mama could bake a sweet potato pie so good you couldn't eat it with your shoes on. You had to take your shoes off so you could wiggle your toes. We wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama kept. These families are kind and generous. They would say, Mamie, whatever food is left over, you can pack it up and take it home to those children that you have adopted. When I ask you how many have big goals and dreams, I want to ask you to think about your goals and dreams in 3 areas. Number 1, what's some personal goal to have for someone that you love? My first major goal was to buy my mother a home. That's what I wanted to do. I remember walking around these big, beautiful mansions before catching the bus going back to Liberty City and Overtown in Miami. I said, Mama, she said, what is it, Leslie? When I become a man, I'm going to buy you a big, beautiful home just like this. Let me have somebody that you like to do something for. It's personal to you. Raise your hands, please. Very good. I want you to think about that. I'm going to share with you some strategies how you can make that happen. Next thing is I want you to think about your financial freedom number. And when you reach that number, when you earn that amount of money, that you will feel a sense of relief. It take a lot of stress out of your life. It give you more time for yourself, for your family. And what that number is, if you wrote it down or if you're thinking about it, I want you to multiply it 100 times. And the reason that I want you to do that, I have found in my own life that most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss. Most people fail in life because they have done what I did for the first part of my life, aim too low and hit. And then I want you to think about your social contribution. I believe that we live in the greatest country in the world that allows us to live a life of contribution. Horace Mann said we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. One of the goals I have is to reduce the number of women who die from breast cancer. My mother was a 22-year breast cancer conqueror. One of the goals I have, every time I get on stage, I tell men that I was diagnosed 15 years ago with prostate cancer, given a 2 to 3 year prognosis. One of the things I believe doctors should never tell someone they're terminally ill. What they should say is that my ability to help you has terminated.
It's not like a pain where you can take a pill for it. It's not like an ache where you can get a prescription for it. It's not something you can go to the doctor and eradicate. Shame is personal. You can put makeup over it. You can put hair over it. You can shave and get your beard trimmed over it. You can look good over top of it, and nobody will know that behind it all, the reason you didn't do more or go further or climb higher is because there was shame. We live in a culture and a society today that people are afraid to run for office because if there's anything you ever did or sort of did or smiled at somebody or hugged somebody, you could lose your position. Who wants to run for an office to be shamed and humiliated in public, even though you may be smart and be gifted and you could have been king? It is becoming less and less popular to be powerful because people are looking for heroes that are bigger than them. They want you to be what they can't be. They want you to be Jesus. And when you take a position or you take a role or you take a job or you raise a family, there's always somebody who's got you on their hit list, who's ready to dig up something on you to say, oh, he ain't such a much, she's not so much, they're not so good, they're not so this, they're not so that. And it's one thing when it's a lie, but it's another thing when it's true. Peter was warming himself. You can rebuke a lie. You can stare a lie down. It almost don't bother me when they lie on me, because when you lie on me, I got a quick comeback for you. The truth shall set you free. I'm good. But what about when what they're saying about you is true? Peter is warming himself at the fire of the men he used to fight. What a contradiction. And you must understand that people are full of contradictions and complexities. And what we do with people is once we discover that there's a complexity or a contradiction, we throw them away and you generally never hear of them. Think of all the people that used to be up that got thrown down that you don't even hear of anymore. Forget their position. We don't even treat them like they're human anymore. They disappear. And the young people say, keep it 100. Keep it at 100 will get you killed. Keep it at 100 will take your job. Keep it at 100 will destroy your life. Keep it at 100 will knock you to your knee. You better keep it 100 with Jesus. If you got somebody that you can give 55, you're doing real good. There are some things that you must tell Jesus, because only Jesus has the ability to weigh the assets against the liabilities and not to judge you through one place, one moment, one period, one stage. And it's not just the judgment of the mass, and it's not just the judgment of the crowd. It is also the judgment of yourself. Shame equals a negative self-judgment and viewing yourself as worth. Shame stops from going after your dreams. Shame stops you from living your life to the fullest. It makes you punish yourself.